Welcome to Vinted with Scout Driscoll. Come along with me on my journey into the wine world, where I share thoughtful conversations with wine industry leaders. Get ready for marketing insights from branding and design to sales and social media, and the answer to the ultimate question: what moves wine? I'm Scout Driscoll, founder of Vint Studio and host of Vinted, where I ask top leaders in the wine industry, how do you move wine? Past episodes include conversations on avoiding wine label pitfalls with Steph Martinez of Trisk Print Solutions, and all about really good box wine with Really Good Box Wine founder Jake Whitman. On today's episode, I'll be talking with Kim Lewis, founder of Ole Orleans Wines. But before we dive in, here's a quick note from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Vint Wine Branding and Design, where rich storytelling meets smart design. At Vint, our studio goes beyond the label, guiding wine brands through strategy-rich branding and packaging evolutions. Our work with Cooper's Hawk has helped them grow to the nation's largest wine club with over 540,000 members. You can learn more about Vint at vint.studio. And for a free label audit for your brand, email me at hello@vint.studio. I'm so excited to welcome Kim Lewis to the podcast today. Kim is the owner and founder of the award-winning winery, Ole Orleans Wines. Lewis infused the Creole and Cajun roots of New Orleans to create a collection of well-balanced wines, 12 of which have been featured on the shelves of major retailers such as Trader Joe's and Costco Wholesale. Orleans has become a 3-time medalist in the 2022 Rodeo Uncorked and is now one of the fastest growing black-owned wineries in the South. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you are one of the people on LinkedIn that I just get most excited when I see you share posts about your winery's journey and your personal journey. So I've really admired how your brand has grown and how you promote your brand, how you also promote your own personal brand as well. I think it's so important for women to be front and center in their own wineries' brands. And I really like how you do that. But let's start off by introducing our listeners to the Ole Orleans brand and really what makes it unique and a little bit of background on the winery.
Ole Orleans, my pride and joy, my baby is like a child for me. Ole Orleans was created in 2018. It was created out of the love for honoring historic places here in New Orleans, historic moments. It was created for the nostalgia of what used to be, which a lot of us New Orleans miss. We have a lot of places and a lot of venues that used to be really nice venues, or used to be the place to go for shopping, or a place to go for hanging out, or just a real notable place, and they're gone. They're gone. And so a lot of us, we sit down and we reminisce about those moments, those things. And I decided, what's better than reminiscing over these moments with wine? Turning this moment into a memory, creating new memories. So we can create new memories by drinking wine while talking about old memories.
I love that. I didn't realize it was such a nostalgic brand, which I guess given the name of the winery, I probably could have figured that out. But yes. That's awesome. And what really makes your winery unique? What are you producing? Talk to me a little bit about, all of the uniqueness of your winery.
We're so unique for more ways than one. We are unique because, one, we are female and minority owned.
Yeah.
We are the only female and minority owned in Louisiana, and the only winery in the city of New Orleans ever.
So ever? That's really amazing.
That alone makes us unique. Another thing that makes us unique is that most Louisiana wineries, and there are only 6, and we're one of them, they only produce Muscadine and Blanc de Bois, your southern grapes.
Mm-hmm.
We produce a lot of your traditional wine. So you're going to have your Merlot, your Syrah, your Chardonnay, your Cabernet. You're going to have all of your household traditional wines with us. Whereas if you were at another winery, you wouldn't have all of those great selections.
Got it. And who's doing your winemaking?
So we have Mr. Joe Donnell, who has 27 years of winemaking experience.
Wow. I love it. So I would love to hear about your origin story as well, like how you decided to create a winery. I mean, it seems like you're relatively new to the wine world. Is that correct? Or is this like a
I am
lifelong
very,
pursuit?
no, I'm very new to the wine world. I'm not new to drinking it, but
Right.
I am very new to the wine world of business, should we say. But I have
Mhm.
been an entrepreneur over 12 years, so I'm not new to business. Um, when I started this winery, I was in business for myself, healthcare business, and I just knew that that was not going to be something that I was going to continue to do. And while knowing that I wasn't going to continue to do that, I needed an exit plan. But when I thought about wine, it was a joke. It was not something that I took seriously. It was just one of those, haha, I should, blah, blah. And it turned into a laughing joke. But lo and behold, I revisited that joke. And when I revisited the joke, I eventually made it happen. Um, because the healthcare industry has changed so much. And the ongoing changes was something that I did not want to be a part of. So I decided to start Ole Orleans in 2018. And it really took off faster than I give credit for. We started off with 250 cases that year. The next year, we went to 2,000 cases. The year after, we went to 4,000. And just last year, we closed the year with 7,500 cases sold.
Nice. Wow,
Hmm.
congratulations. And that just,
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to the opportunity in the market, to your hard work and brand, and just how authentic your brand is to the place where you're really, focusing your sales efforts, which of course is New Orleans. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So why did you, I love the bangs, guys. This is a real podcast with real people who are working and trying to record a podcast. So all good. Um, That's all right. The best thing about being in Chicago is the train goes by every time I'm recording. So at some point, you're going to hear the train. So
Same thing here. Our new location, the train is going to pass. It passes every 45 minutes, but I'll do my best.
nice. Well, us city girls find that romantic. So sorry, listeners, but you're going to hear some rumbles. Um, awesome. And so you decided to create this winery, which is amazing. I love, I'm assuming that to a certain extent, you probably fit my favorite profile of entrepreneur, which is what I call a fit faux entrepreneur, which is, figure it the F out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And that's my favorite kind of, most of our clients are actually that kind of client where you have an idea, you're passionate, you want to change something, solve a problem. And that's really a great way for you to build a business and learn as you go. And I love that success that you had. There's the train. uh, and then in terms of, for a city that's such a party city, New Orleans, which, at least is my Chicagoan perspective from outside, I was really surprised that there had never been a winery there before.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's weird that we didn't have a winery prior to this because we have distilleries, we have breweries, we have all these different places to go. We have daiquiri shops, but no winery. Nobody thought of that. And so when I realized that, I'm like, this is an opportunity,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take it.
Wonderful. So when you first started out, how did you go about building awareness for your brand?
Um, I did a lot of marketing. I did a lot of social media. I did a lot of sponsorships and just getting the word out and friend tell a friend, post this, post that. It was a lot of word of mouth. We were young, so we didn't have a lot. And when I say we, I talk about me and my kids because my kids were my workers.
Yeah.
We didn't have marketing bucks or anything like that to really put that out there.
Mhm.
So it pretty much went off of real hardcore reviews of the wine from people who really enjoyed it. Um, Family members, friends, just the support was very good. We got a lot of support.
And when you first started, were you primarily DTC? Were you at retail? Were you on premise? How are you selling?
DTC. We were primarily DTC, but we did do some regular sales as well.
Okay.
Um, but it didn't take long for us to get into the distributor world. That literally took about 6 months.
Wow. That's impressive. Is that impressive? To me, that sounds really impressive.
It is, and
Yeah.
it's actually surreal.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a whole different beast.
Listen, distribution life is something else.
Yeah. Well, especially as a designer, we definitely think about where that bottle is going to be living with the end user and in that purchase decision. So the way you approach packaging for DTC versus distribution is it's pretty different. So I imagine that's something you guys had to kind of grapple with as you
Yes.
grow. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things that I love is how much you strive to represent New Orleans culture and your wine names and your designs. What are some of your favorite examples of that? Walk us through a couple of your wines that really tap into that culture of Ole
Yeah.
Orleans.
And so if you look at the picture behind me, those are some prime examples. So we have wards. Take my finger up here. This is
And for those of you listening on streaming services, we'll put some photos on our website at vint.studio so you can take a look. But tell us about Wards.
so over to the left of my shoulder, that's wards. Wards is a Rhone white blend, and it is named after the wards here in New Orleans. New Orleans is not made of counties like one would say. We have parishes,
Okay.
and and inside those parishes we have wards, and that's where wards come from. Wards was created for voting purposes, and that's how people until today still get their information on where they will vote based on the ward that they live in. That was created, and the sister to that is called parishes.
Got it.
Parishes is a Sauvignon Blanc. The one right next to wards is Heritage. Heritage is a Riesling, and Heritage was created to honor pretty much Black History Month. And it shows a picture of a gentleman playing the piano in the French quarters in the early 1800s. A lot of people don't think that African Americans were, you know, as important or prominent during that time, but they were. And lo and behold, we were able to locate some pictures that proved that, and we wanted to exemplify that on a bottle. Next, we have gumbo, which is this nice bottle over here, which is our top seller because everybody loves a bowl of gumbo. And also, the bottle creates this real touristy attraction. It has all of your street names in tiles, and the tiles represent the street names in the city that people usually go on all the time. Or you may have some streets on the front of the bottle where I grew up at, but it's the bottle that gets everyone's attention. And it's the bottle that just about every retailer sells. So we created that, and that's a gumbo merlot. Pair very well with the gumbo too.
Nice. I love a good gumbo. Um,
Yeah.
excuse me. So why? Oh my gosh, I just got the worst frog in my throat. Hold on a second. I'm like dying over here. I'll
No.
cut this part out. You just swallow something weird in a weird way.
Yes.
Um, anyway, sorry about that. So, in terms of your connection with New Orleans, like why is that so important to you? I feel like so many wineries focus on where they're located, but it's often about like the terroir, the grapes, and I feel like for an urban winery, that's so different. It's not your brand is so much more about your cultural experience and less about the what's in the bottle or how the grape is grown or all of that. So talk to me a little bit more about like how you made the decision to make it less about how the Merlot tastes or what is in the blend, but more about where culturally this wine is from.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to highlight the culture because we are culture. We are a cultural city. People come here for the culture. And so just to have a wine that represents culture and when I say culture, I don't mean the culture as in black culture, but I mean culture as a whole, the
Mhm.
tourism, the history, everything. And to have wine that highlight that, but also highlight what the wine itself is too was a plus. Each wine was carefully placed with a piece of culture.
Mhm.
For instance, we have the St. Charles Chardonnay. Well, St. Charles Street is beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's full of pretty pink flowers, streetcars. It's very relaxing, refreshing. It's like a walk in a park. Well, our bottle of Chardonnay It's in a clear bottle.
Nice.
The label is clear. It's very beautiful. The pink flowers stand out. There are things in that bottle that just make you realize that, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. The taste of it is light, fluffy, and beautiful. It's a Lodi Chardonnay. Well, the taste of the wine matched the picture, the location, it everything meets together.
I love
So I wanted to highlight everything together.
I love how conceptual that is. And I like that you aren't afraid to play in the design from each varietal to each varietal. Like you have a lot of fun in your branding. And that's something that I can always appreciate brand consistency. But I also love people who are willing to take the risk and play and have a little more fun with their packaging. And I love everything that you guys are doing. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, you can't be scared.
Yeah.
You can't be scared.
Yeah, if anyone's ever listened to the podcast, they know that one of my my big values is kind of moving the industry away from some of the conventions that, in my opinion, have to a certain extent hampered its growth. Not its success, but its growth and connecting with different demographics. And so, being a little more experimental with design is something I think can be really beneficial for wineries. So as we move into a little bit more of, what is beneficial for wineries, I'd love to have a little bit of advice from you. Um, for me, I'm just really impressed at your growth rate. As you mentioned, that chart went straight up, and your retail distribution successes. So what is some advice that you have for other wineries who are looking to kind of walk in your footsteps?
I like to tell other wineries to one, do your research, take your time, make sure you read. A lot of people get into this industry and they don't prepare themselves. They don't read, they don't take the time to really understand what goes into running a winery. Just think it's something they can just jump into.
Hmm.
It's not that simple. It's really not that simple. There are a lot of rules, a lot of compliance that goes along with running a winery, where you'll find yourself paying hefty fees. Um, and that's something that I like to tell a lot of people. Just make sure you know exactly what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, you can never read enough. You definitely have to read, 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 read. It's
Yeah.
very important. But also, I would say, don't be scared. If it's something you want to do it. You don't know until you try it. Most people want to do something, but they're scared.
Got it.
How no? How do you know if it'll work or not if you don't try?
That's true. That's true. And what do you credit to some of your success in terms of your growth rate year after year?
Having a good team, having a good team because and you get to a point you cannot do it alone. You definitely have to have a good team, and I have an amazing team, a great team.
Yeah.
Uh, Everyone plays their part. Everybody is vital. I often see um, memes and things on social media saying that everybody is replaceable. This one is replaceable. That's not
Oh,
true. I have some team members that are just not replaceable under no circumstance.
yeah.
They're not. They're not. They're not.
Yeah. I totally feel the same. I've got one of my leads at my studio has been with me for almost 15 years. And I'm like, we're married. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Um, and
definitely.
in terms of like the more logistical side of things, like how do you get into Trader Joe's? How do you get into Costco? Like, was that just hustle? Was that meeting the right people and connections and networking?
It's all hustle.
Yeah.
um, no, but really, I utilize LinkedIn like no other. You
Mhm.
wouldn't believe the work that I put into LinkedIn. I really put
I do believe it because I put a ton of work into LinkedIn too, and it really
just
pays off. It's wonderful.
just about every deal I've gotten has come from LinkedIn.
Wow, it's amazing. I feel like with LinkedIn, like, if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I would be interested in that as a platform or consider it to be really valuable in any way, I would say absolutely not. But I think that the pandemic, especially for me, has completely revolutionized how I use LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it has really just grown so much in terms of community building and connecting with other people and building that network. So if you're
LinkedIn
listening to this and
definitely
didn't,
go.
what's that?
LinkedIn is definitely the way to go.
I was going to say, if you're listening to this episode and you didn't find it through LinkedIn, get yourself on LinkedIn, start building that network.
It will change your life. I've met so many meaningful individuals and built so many wonderful relationships through LinkedIn. I mean, when I say all of my major deals from Walmart to Target,
Wow.
you name it, LinkedIn, go puff, LinkedIn.
Wow. Wow. And I feel like specifically the wine community is really great on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know my backstory at all, but Design Scout is my studio, and I created Design Scout almost 20 years ago. And if you'd asked me at the beginning of 2019 what kind of company I had, I would say we are the preeminent restaurant design studio in the Midwest. We are, this amazing restaurant design company. And then
Hmm.
all the restaurants closed. And our biggest client was Cooper's Hawk, which is a winery that we've helped grow their wine club to 540,000 members. And I thought, you know what? The restaurants are shut down. I'm going to get brave and finally launch this wine division
Uh,
and take, we've done over 100 labels for them, and they were our favorite projects at the studio. I was like, I want to do way more of that. I want to get immersed in this industry. And so I went from like, I don't know, a couple hundred LinkedIn contacts to 3,000 contacts who are all in the wine industry in a couple years. And I have just found that the wine industry community, specifically on LinkedIn, has been so welcoming and so wonderful. And I can honestly say that I have real friends from coast to coast just from that experience. So I'm happy that you feel the same way. It's been really really
met
giving.
so many nice people on LinkedIn. So many.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to my next question, which was asking about your personal brand and kind of the delineation between the Ole Orleans brand and the Kim Lewis brand. And how have you leveraged personal branding to your success? I think you just said it, but like, is there really anything else you could talk about in terms of people who are maybe a little shy about putting their ownership's face out in the world?
So for the longest, you did not see me. I was behind the scenes. I did not come in front of the brand because I would always say, you don't see Hennessy in front of Hennessy. You don't see, all those people and, Tito's in front of you. Like you don't see all
Yeah,
that. But we're in a different time and age where people are more personable. They want to know who is who. They
younger
want
people
to
want to know who's who. You
and
know,
also
yeah.
help sell your brand. I have not mastered being in front of the camera yet or being in front of people. If you'd have asked me if I would have done this interview this time last year, I probably would have told you no.
I
Um,
never would have thought that. I would think this is like your 800th podcast and you're like, I do this every day.
it
Let's just,
probably is, but I was saying no way more than I was saying yes.
yeah.
But I now have this amazing publicist who's not going
Mhm.
to let me say no. And that's great. And that's great. Whatever it takes for the brand to work in a positive lighting and positive setting, I'm all for it.
Nice. So you recommend being in front of the camera to people who have
Yeah,
their own
to a
brands.
certain, to a certain extent, because I do like my privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. Like, I'm actually shocked I have a podcast. If you had asked me a year ago if I would be a podcast host and I would be putting,
Yeah.
these videos out and connecting with people and writing articles, it's, thought leadership for me is still kind of scary because I've been a referral only business for 20 years. I've
Yeah,
actually never marketed my company. As a company that markets companies, you think that would be kind of a no-brainer.
that is
But
amazing because you don't hear that often.
yeah, but to a certain extent though, I think especially during the pandemic, I realized that there's great opportunity in sharing how you feel about the world that you work within and helping other people gain traction in whether it's design or marketing or brand and understanding how that works. And sharing that success and sharing that acumen with other people. So that's kind of why I created Vinted and why I created, this whole new brand. Um, so in terms of, the wrapping up the podcast, I love to ask people, and um, this is kind of a hard to answer question, and we maybe talked about it a little bit already, but like, what is your number one advice for moving wine? If someone said, I want to sell more wine, like, what is the number one thing that you would say to someone who wants to increase sales?
Connect with your customer and don't rely on the distributor.
Okay.
Connect with your customer. Your customer is going to help you sell your wine, not the
I love that. How do you do that? What are some ways that you're connecting with your customer?
find out what they like at the bar. Do tastings to where you can get in front of them. Do store visit. meet with the buyers, meet with the managers, get in front of the customer, be personable. When you're selling wine and you have a wine club or they're buying online items, make sure when they unbox, they're unboxing a whole presentation because that's going to keep them coming back. They enjoyed the experience and make quality wine, not just cheap stuff or something you can just throw a label on it. People don't
Yes. Yes. Don't buy some natty shiners and stick your label on it.
know.
And it's
Nobody wants that.
yeah. Awesome. Kim, this has been such a pleasure. I love, I love highlighting other women entrepreneurs and especially those that, are the fit faux variety like myself. So congratulations on everything.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for joining me today. So we've been talking to Kim Lewis of Ole Orleans Wines. Kim, where can people learn more about Orleans and connect with you?
Whew, everywhere. So we are all over social media. You can visit us at oleorleans.com, our Twitter, Ole Orleans, Instagram, Ole Orleans, LinkedIn, Ole Orleans Wines and Spirits, my LinkedIn, Kim Lewis. Just about anywhere and everywhere there is social media, it is Ole Orleans or Ole Orleans Wines and Spirits. And we ship to over 35 states. So if you need a wine and you need it shipped, we got you covered.
Love it. Love it. All right. That's all for this week's episode of Vinted. As always, you can head over to vint.studio to sign up for our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, leave a rating and review. And to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at @ScoutDriscoll and on LinkedIn. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Have a great
Bing.
Sorry.
It's all good. Tune in for the next Vinted. Subscribe today. For future episodes, marketing advice, and more, follow me on Instagram @ScoutDriscoll. Learn more about Vint's design and branding services for wineries at www.vint.studio.